Wow. Blessings, blessings, and welcome, everyone. I am Tuesday May Thomas, and it is such a gift and such a blessing to be here with you today on October 10th of 2019. This is my show, 4D Trinity, where we bridge heaven on earth realization. We bridge unity consciousness through that unity of mind, body, and emotions with spirit. It is here we learn and remember together our multidimensionality, the ability of ourselves to be present in the now, to heal our lives through understanding the way universal energy works, through understanding the way the grid matrix of collective consciousness works, and our contribution to it. So thank you so much for joining, for hopping on, and thank you to all of the new subscribers, all of the new followers. I'm going to just give you a few announcements before we get into our themes today, which are psychic portals, 10-10-10 portal, and just understanding this idea, bringing a greater awareness to this whole idea of what a portal actually means in this time space we share together. So a few announcements. As you may know, I'm working on developing a film called Grid Mind Science, which incorporates all of the teachings and everything that I have been sitting with for 20 years. And I'm so grateful to finally be developing a screenplay and to just be generating all of the love and the joy that brings into my life. So thank you everyone on Instagram for following Grid Mind Science. And Grid Mind Science is now on Facebook. I look forward to eventually having this live stream on Facebook as well. And for the meantime, thank you to all of the new subscribers at YouTube and all of the new followers at Instagram. May everything I share really fully serve your path of spiritual growth and spiritual sovereignty, of your freedom, of your liberation, your ability to be a self-fulfilled prophecy in the name of love, in the name of light. Please do go to my website, tuesdaymaythomas.com, and subscribe there on the first page for my monthly love letter. I'm in the process of also writing my next book, which is, what is it called? It is called Holy Grail Hologram, and it is a companion book to the movie Grid Mind Science. And it contains all sorts of mystical and metaphysical, multidimensional healing practices that we can apply into our lives so that we may attain a greater sense, again, of liberation, of freedom, of sovereignty, and learning how to give back to ourselves through understanding the way we are interconnected through the entire universe. Every month I send out a rough draft, unedited chapter from my book, Holy Grail Hologram. And in this month's love letter, I sent out a PDF to my subscribers at the website that is Chakras Part 1. So if that's something that is of interest to you, come by and hop on and subscribe, and then we can stay in touch. Also, I'm so grateful to be a presenter, a speaker at this upcoming Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles of February 2020. I will be presenting the Grid Mind Science teachings, and I'm so very grateful to be there. So thank you again for hopping on, for following and subscribing, and thank you for hopping on here at Instagram and at YouTube. I'm so very grateful, so very grateful. So let's get into this. Psychic portals. Let's understand firstly that everything is a portal. Everything that you can imagine is a portal. Thank you for saying hi. Okay, so even our words, our thoughts, our portals, they connect us to people, places, and things throughout the universe, throughout all time, space, and dimensions. Remember, we are multidimensional. In this third dimensional grid matrix, we exist in the past, in the present, and in the future. And we can always tap into those variables of self, right? Through our meditations, through our healing sessions, through whatever ceremonies or things you may be guided to explore. But let's understand that every word we speak creates a contract, creates an agreement on some level, creates a portal through which to see yourself, to see and be seen by others, right? And to also to vibrate and to create an access point that connects us to all that is contained within that which we speak. And what does that demonstrate? That demonstrates the grid matrix of collective consciousness. Now, this picture is an ancient picture of art that I created many, many years ago. And we use this picture to imagine that grid matrix of collective consciousness, all of the lines, the network, the matrix of interconnection that contains all of our thoughts, actions, words, and deeds, experiences, agreements, definitions through all time, space, and through all dimensions. And with every word, with every utterance, with every action that we participate through just being a body, being on this plane, in this third dimension, that information connects us through our individual grid thread, from our individual matrix of self to the collective consciousness that is contained in the grid matrix of collective consciousness. Now, each of these thread lines that we send out through our words, actions, and deeds connect us to the greater whole, to everyone and everything else that has also had those thoughts, agreements, those feelings, those emotions. And that's why we know if we continue on repetition, thinking and speaking words and feelings and things that are in one way maybe based in anger or in greed or jealousy or in lack consciousness, that what we put out returns to us multiplied. So what we plug into by way of our word, by way of our thoughts, our actions, and our deeds comes back to us. It meets us, right? Multiplied. Like attracts like. That's one of the principles in the grid mind science teachings. And it's very basic. And we are very aware of this in the spiritual community. And so understanding that you yourself, you are a portal, and that everything you do, think, and say creates portal activations in your aura, in your energy body vehicle, through which other people, places, and things of that like vibration can enter through the grid matrix and plug back into you. And that's why we say, well, let's change our thinking from I'm always broke to I am always with everything that I could ever require for the highest good. Everything I need and could ever require for my highest good shows up in the perfect time and space. And in that way, connecting with that part of the collective that is in agreement with all of those notions and all of those vibrations and frequencies. And so plugging that back into ourselves. So understanding on a very basic level that we are portals and that everything we do, think, and speak creates portals by which us to connect with that and for that to connect with us. Now, beyond the plane of the third dimension of this grid matrix, we have the fourth dimension, 4D consciousness. This is what this show is all about. This is where I come in as a teacher and a facilitator, and believe me, I am always a student in this practice. It is heaven on earth realization. Again, it is living sovereign and living free. We learn to master the grid matrix with fourth dimensional consciousness, with the consciousness of love, with the consciousness of light. We learn to activate the light body and live and be and breathe as our higher self. And so in this way, we don't simply exit the matrix, but we learn how to master the matrix, to be in a body, to be present in this time space, right? And whatever time space you create through word and mind, but to also be with the tongue of light, to speak and to act with the language of light, so that we are plugged into the love that is rooted in this binary system. The grid matrix is the binary system of ones and zeros, of duality, of polarity, love versus fear. And as spiritual apprentices that we are, we learn that what really feels good is to focus and root our awareness in love, in light, towards ourselves and towards others. And that really is the path of knowing thyself divine, knowing the divine matrix, moving, using the language of light to connect with that divinity within the polarized variables of the grid matrix, and eventually connect with that which is beyond it. So we learn to master the matrix, be in the world, yet not of it, not be bound, not be kept into those timelines of pain and of the past, of trauma, of limitation, of beliefs that we've been given by our family, our friends, society, whatever it is about that limit us. We're learning how to go beyond those limitations and really embody those parts of ourselves that give rise to the higher self, having a voice, having your hands to use, having your heart, having your eyes to see through. Now, what is here at this 4D, at this point beyond this grid matrix, is the 0 point. And the 0 point energy field, I like to just flip this picture over and dawn us with the white light, that space of sometimes in science, it's called this singularity, this place where there is only love, where there's love and only love, that is beyond the polarized notions that we have been learned as bodies in this plane. So again, thank you everyone for hopping on and for saying hello. Okay, so we're gonna move on. I'm gonna tell you a little story. I was recently in New York, and I'd lived in New York for 7 years back in the day, and it had been at least about 10 years, 8 or 10 years since I've visited. Now, I live in the desert. As you know, if you follow my story or watch these 4DTs, 4D Trinity shows, we have been collectively going through a series of activations, of Kundalini activations, of what I call frontal lobe activation, which is the relinquishing of certain thoughts, actions, deeds. When we get to a certain point of our healing, a tipping point within us begins to shift. The tipping point through how we plug into the universal grid matrix shifts, and we begin to see more love, see more light, become more love, more light. And so the container that we are, the energy vehicle that we are, has less of a resonance with those aspects that are rooted in fear. And what happens is the ability of the energy body unto and of itself begins to activate and elevate its frequency. And for me, what that became defined as is a total meltdown. Right? And that can happen where we have a series of meltdowns and really spiritual enlightenments, I like to call them. But ultimately, there's a rewiring. And what we may be left with is less. And what I experienced over this last year is less of me, right? We also have a theory called dropping atoms. When that tipping point shifts, frontal lobe, the synapses to how they were once wired within us. And so the wiring within us being reflected in how we're wiring into the grid matrix shifts and changes. Well, then the whole reality begins to change. I often like to use that metaphor of that movie. Ooh, and for some reason I always forget it. I have to write it and paste it up on the wall. Where the buildings, where things begin to fall. What is the name of that movie? But it's all through how we perceive it, right? And so those timelines that we were once connected to begin to dissolve. And so what happened for me, and what perhaps this resonates with you, is as I loosened my moorings and forgot who I was with the pain, forgot who I was as that version of me that was the victim, well, the dropping of all the shields that I would wear in the world began to happen. And I didn't really try to make it happen. There's no force of a will. This is the natural unfoldment of us ever leaning into our light body, ever leaning into exploring God, source, love, light, and our self as the higher self, and embodying that. Well, those shields that I once walked with were gone. So here I am visiting in New York again. And it was really, really powerful because it feels like there were at least 3 times as many people there as there were when I last was there, and even more than when I used to live there way back in the day, the late 90s and early 2000s. And so it was a very interesting place to be there and not have the same shields that I grew up in, or that I lived with when I did live there in New York. And so at once there was less atoms, right? There's less of me. There's less of my mind connecting me into the grid, connecting me into the fear-based notions that I had been plugged into in the past. And so my experiences were different. Now, getting into the portal. This is very interesting because I'm sitting with 2 dear friends who I did my yoga training with back in the day. Blessings to Kim. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Blessings to Kelly and to Liz. So we were sitting there having our talk. And in New York, if you're in New York, or maybe in any big city, there are just random people, perhaps transient, perhaps on drugs, perhaps just out of their body, perhaps on whatever, in a different system of being. But sometimes we collide, we interact. So we're sitting at our table, having our conversation, reconnecting. And this person comes up and starts just saying all this stuff around us, just walking around and hovering around, and just spatting all this just information, and this information that was not asked for, and also not really required at that time. So my 2 New York friends, Kelly and Liz, are sitting there and just ignoring this being, right, who's spatting out all this stuff, just fully interrupting our sacred place. Now, granted, we did not create a sacred container or anything of the sort either to sit in this way. But here we are, just free and open in the public. So this person is talking and talking. My 2 friends don't say anything, don't even hardly look at this person. I'm looking at this person. right? Here I am, California girl, forgot all my shields in New York, forgot how to do all this operating in a big city such as New York. And I start conversing. I start having a conversation. I start opening away and conversing with this entity, with this person, this being. Well, this, of course, gave rise to more of this individual spatting out and giving information, and just really then the information becoming really obviously of the dark side, of the shadow, of the TARS. And my two girls just looked at each other, and they just cut him out, and they just kept talking, and they just basically ignored him. And what happened is this creature, this person, this being left. So we continue talking, have our talk. I walk with Kelly back to the train station, and we're hanging out there. She has about 20 minutes before her train. We're hanging out there. And this person, just another transient person, comes up and comes right into my face and just starts really spatting this, like, just intense. I don't even know what he said, but that he got this close into my field and started saying all this funky stuff. And she just grabs me. She's like, get out of here. She's like, let's move over here. So we moved into a different space, and I was like, okay, whoa, this is happening for a reason. What is going on? What is happening? She's like, I don't know, but let's figure this out. And I'm like, absolutely. So we stand there, and I put on the shaman hat, and I go into the grids, and I ask higher self, I said, why is this happening now? What is this happening? And this is the sort of thing that used to happen to me all the time when I lived in New York. Now, granted, I had been in New York a good 4 days or so before I met with the sisters, and no experiences of that like had occurred. And so it was kind of befuddling to me. And befuddling? Yes, befuddling. And so we're standing there rather, and I'm taking this moment to go in, and I'm being shown all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, boom, I realize, I created a portal. I created a portal with that first individual in the park by me simply communicating with him, by me simply saying, yes, it's okay for this inappropriate energy that is rooted in that what is that energy? It is like this, it's the trickster energy. It is just the energy that comes in that is imbalanced, and it can be destructive and just not of the light, let's say, to disrupt that energy that is there, to disrupt the light. And I realized that I created a portal by me opening myself and having that conversation with that person in the first place. So then what I did is I went in and I did some energy work with the grids, and for the highest good, sent light through all of these experiences that I had with that first person in the park, with this man just recently on the street. And I sent light through all of those grid lines of connection, closed them down. I closed the portal down. That's what higher self guided. Just close it down, and sealed it with light, and did a few other little energy tool things. Took a breath, and she was even like, okay, I feel that. And I was like, yeah, I feel that too. And shut it down. Now, the interesting thing then is that, of course, because I believe, and because beyond believing, I know that this stuff works. From that point on, for the rest of my stay, for another week or so, absolutely no inappropriate energies, entities trying to come in and invade my space. And the funny thing is that I knew the whole time that this inappropriate energy could not actually touch me third dimensionally. It couldn't make contact with my physical being, but the very point that it came this close to making contact, to tapping in, and to trying to stir, the tar, just trying to stir the shadow, the reaction within me, was enough for me to pay attention. And when I meditated on it later, I really, in a truthful, honest way, had realized, wow, this is something. This is a blueprint. This is a memory from when I used to live in New York. And a part of me had become so used to those inappropriate advances that I became okay with it. I found deep within myself this strata in which I had somehow come into agreement with that being just how New York is. And believe me, if you know how this stuff works, it doesn't have to be that way. Nothing has to be that way, where your energy body is being probed, where you are being approached by inappropriate energies or entities. It does not have to be that way. And so, of course, I had to go in there then and realize that, and reconfigure that, and release that with love and with light, and seal the deal, so to speak, so that I do not allow that on any way, shape, or form through all time, space, and dimensions to be a part of my reality. So just an example, portal. Okay, another example, I'm sitting with a different girlfriend, in Brooklyn. And there's a man who she knows very well who has feelings for her, but she doesn't have feelings for him. Yet she's kind. She's kind to him. And at one point, she said there was a moment where he was down, she was giving him a hug, and he started crying on her shoulder, and she's, very genuinely sensitive and giving him love and support. And then he started sort of feeling her up from his hand and the back and giving her something that's a little bit more of a sensual reaction. And she realized, whoa, and she had to close that portal right away. She had to push him away and say, it's not like that, brother. I appreciate you. I love you. I'm here for you, but it's not like that. I'm not here for you in that way. She shut that portal down. And so now she doesn't have to deal with that energy coming from him. And he's someone who's a friend to her that she sees all the time. But she had to manage that. She had to hold space for herself in that way for her highest good. So psychic portals, we think about stones, we think about crystals, right? We think about the ways that, and I have several videos on crystals. I'll come back and I'll put some links here at the YouTube later for other videos, but you can always go into the search bar. And thank you everyone for hopping on. I know there's comments. I'm going to do my best to get to them. We have a lot to cover. So crystals, right? We know that even just one sprig of a crystal, no matter how big of it is connected to the mother crystal from its origin, whether it's Brazil, Peru, Tibet, wherever it could be, California, Utah, wherever it is, but that it has that connection there. So your one little crystal is a portal, is a connector point, is a wormhole, if you will, that connects you to the mother lode of that essence, of those healing properties, of the wisdom, of the everything that is contained within that crystal. Now, equally, I did a whole show a while ago on crystals, on 4DT, probably a year and a half ago, and talked at length on crystals. And so we think about a crystal ball. Very briefly, there's a story about a co-worker of mine at one point that had gifted me a crystal ball. And this was at a point in my life many, many years ago where, we're always still learning how to cultivate a sensitivity, pardon me, and a discernment without judging someone or a place or a thing, a quality of discernment by which we can navigate appropriately our time and space and hold space for ourselves in the light. And so she gave me this crystal ball, and here I am thinking, this is amazing. I put it on the altar at home, and I'm just like, oh, wow, la, 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 la. Very, very green to really the practical power, and very green to the fact that that was a portal that she gave me. She gave me a portal. Now, this crystal ball that I hold up to you now is not that same crystal ball. But what happened is I would then go ahead and see her, and she started telling me things about my home, telling me things about the space in which I lived, and started psychically reciting information and people and situations that were happening in my home. And this freaked me out. And I was like, why is this happening? This doesn't feel right. What's wrong with this? I didn't get it at first, only to realize later that that crystal ball was the portal that she so kindly gave to me. And ultimately, this person, had a good heart, yet perhaps was misusing their power. So what I offer to you, if you do work with a crystal ball, which I do, is to have a piece of fabric, a divine piece of fabric. I use a black fabric. And when the crystal ball does not call for me to work with it, that thing is covered. And even though it is activated, it is calibrated, it is aligned for me to work with me and me only, and for the highest good of all, we are still mindful. We are still mindful of closing the space, of keeping a clear and clean container in our home or in our ashram or wherever we have these kinds of devices, because they are powerful tools and portals. So moving on, we can be portals ourselves, right? So if you read my book, The Reiki Apprentice, which is on Amazon and Kindle, soon to be on iBooks. It's also on Kobo if you're in Canada or the like. My teacher, right, really, I'll do my best to keep this succinct because I did want to read from the book too. She was a psychic healer and a trance channel. And I learned an infinite from her about becoming psychic, about developing those psychic skills. Yet the way I learned was through her intrusion, through my being, and using me as a portal, using me as a portal. So I'm going to read to you a little bit here. So relax, get your cup of tea, and I will share with you here. So we would share Reiki. She was also my Reiki teacher. Her name in the book is Sharon. Sharon remains quiet as I resituate my body upon the couch, her hands upon the top of my head the whole time. I glance at the clock and notice I've been out for at least an hour. I feel dizzy and wide open energetically and wonder if that is why she was asking me those questions. Now, I'll just tell you that often when she would lay hands on me, she would ask me psychic questions. She would ask me to go into the grid, into that grid matrix of collective consciousness. She would ask me questions. There's the grid matrix. She would ask me questions about specific people, places, and things. And in this way, I would be exercising my psychic ability to tap the grid, to gain information from it on that level. Now, the questions she asked me sometimes did not feel that they were in alignment, so let's keep going. Why is she asking me these questions? Is it because I am ultra receptive at this time? Maybe she can get better answers through me while I'm relaxed or asleep. I think to myself, and a strange stillness comes over me as I further realize that maybe she is planting information into my brain. Is she using my mind as a place to plant seeds about her and Andrew? She used to have a fancy for a gentleman, a tennis player, and she would constantly ask me questions about him, about her, about the possibility of them coming together romantically. My body shivers as I reveal and come into this awareness. So I move to the loo, I excuse myself, and I think to myself, am I healing under the very hands I feel bullied by? In the bathroom, I get to thinking, okay, I get it. You put enough thoughts and impressions about Andrew, the tennis player, and yourself into my mind by asking question after question. And then I am left unknowingly, psychically broadcasting these images and scenarios out into the world from my body and mind. Is she creating relationship grids for herself and Andrew through my mind? It's like anything else, right? We think it into creation. But the only thing is, I'm not sure this feels like it's for the highest good, but more for her ego. So you understand that even those beloveds that we have deep connection with, and teachers even, are still learning. I'm still learning. We're all still learning. And often these hiccups, these experiences are a part of the learning curve with these teachers. Okay, so moving on. Now I ask the grid questions all the time about my own affairs and always trust that if I hear no reply, it is for the highest good. I will be given guidance when the timing is right for me. One learns how to intuit and divulge information, not only from the greater universal strata, but from the higher self of others, from nature, from loved ones and friends that are among us, and from those who have passed from this life. The sources to ask from are endless. Because everything is of one source, the answer always is. Wherever you are, the answer is there too. And even if the answer is no answer, that is the answer for that time and space. All of this said, I'm beginning to feel like I'm outgrowing Sharon. That's my teacher. This is several chapters later. Maybe if she didn't play that weird psychic question and answer game, I would feel differently. Is it because I'm coming into my own power? Have I learned all I can from her, or is there more? If I didn't feel manipulated by her, I'm sure that would dramatically change things. I just don't like all the questions she constantly asks me. And she's begun to ask me questions not only about Andrew, but about Miguel and random members in the group that we studied with too. And then I write, I feel like she's totally psychically invading my mind for the benefit of her welfare. And it's hard to describe because she'll ask me a question regarding someone. And then instead of me feeling like I am truly receiving a download from a higher self, from a higher source, I will feel her mind intervene as if psychically attempting to bend my mind and manipulate my answers to be the kind of answers and thoughts she wants me to have about a person, place, or thing. It's as if by inserting into my mind the equation she wishes for, she has succeeded in creating a transmitting tower out of me, a portal, okay, which then broadcasts her vision of how she wants things to be answered, and I don't like it. Okay, so becoming a psychic toy. Be really careful, right? The things that we entertain about ourselves and about others runs grids. Again, it connects us, our thoughts, the thoughts that others plant into us that give us information to the extent that we allow and agree and welcome that into our strata of our own personal matrix. That connects us into the matrix, and that energy then runs back and forth and is transmitted through us like a portal, right? Through the universal grid matrix. So what are we connecting to? What are we allowing others to connect to us? Okay, what ideas, what notions, what exercises are we allowing others to exercise through us? Who may be using you as a portal? And it's nothing to be afraid of. It's just to become aware as we become enlightened, as we become aware and activated, and maybe expanding in our consciousness and not knowing why we're bumping into these situations, or if we feel uncomfortable. This situation went on with my teacher for 3 years until the very end of my apprenticeship, when I realized, like, game over. I'm over this. Now, granted, I learned. I learned a lot, and it's all in my book, The Reiki Apprentice. I learned an infinite amount that now serves me, and I get to pay that forward. But being mindful of who and what might be using you as a portal, and knowing you can close that down simply by your intention, by your conscious awareness of stating it so, of closing it down consciously in any way. Ask your higher self how to guide that, and it will show you. It will show you. Now, okay, so we talked about the crystals and the items. So before we get into the 1010 portal, let me just have a little look here. I'm going to see if I can read through some of these comments, and I want to stay on time because we are going to speak about the 1010 portal, and also, okay. Oh, blessings. Thank you for hopping on, Lucky. Good to see you here. Angel. Oh, Katie, good to see you again. Blessings. And I'm so sorry that I can't get to this right now, but Skylark. Hey, good to see you here, sister. You know what I'm going to do, though, because I want to keep this going. And these 4DTs now are just ending. They're now being 1 hour long. We used to go for several hours. But what I do want to tell everyone is that, just as a reminder, as a sideline, that on this show, 4D Trinity, once a month, I host a show called Ask Me Anything. And just if you're wondering, that Ask Me Anything for my regulars will be back October 31st. Funny how it works out in the States, what we call the Halloween day. And in that show, you ask me anything, you just hop on. When we start, ask me your question. I get to as many as I can. And specifically, there's a lot of YouTube questions, and I try to get as many Instagram ones as I can. But what I do is, for the highest good, I channel your higher self to give you some divine guidance that perhaps it is not in your strata at this time, that you are ready to receive and hear, to help you define your path forward in any given situation. So that is going to be October 31st here at 4D Trinity, Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard. Now, getting into the 10-10-10 portal, and I know it's the roommate, the BFF said, oh, but it's not 10-10-10, right? We think it because it's like October 10th, 2019, yet there's the 2, right? The 2 and the 1 and the 9 creates the, what does it create? 10, 11, 12, 12, which creates the 3. Right? But in essence, we are going through this 1010 portal today. And what is the 1010? Well, what we teach here is the 1 is where we start. The 1 is where we come into that sense of unity consciousness, that as we heal our lives, as we begin to know thyself, we begin to realize there's actually no separation between me and between you and between the body of the universe. And we begin to integrate that awareness on deeper and deeper levels within ourselves and come into that connecting point of unity consciousness, which is in the heart. In the heart. And when we start to again shift that tipping point into living that love, living and allowing, giving the right of way to that frequency of love and light within us, what happens is we connect with that 0 point. And again, right at the very beginning of the show, if you missed it, go back and watch. This is the grid matrix of collective consciousness that we all share. This is the 3D grid matrix that we are all connected to as a body in this world. This is the 4D. Beyond, and what is the 4D is rooted in the Christ consciousness, in the heart center, in the 0 point, that tiny space in the heart that Drunvalo Melchizedek speaks about. Now, we use the heart center, right, in the torus of that beautiful heart space to access the 0 point, to access that singularity. Yet, we do not enter the domain of the 0 until we are at 1 mint, until we have really fully realized, at least to a certain level in the tipping point of self, in our self-realization, that unity consciousness, like for real. When we really start to get that, and we really start to allow ourselves to experience that realization, that 4D consciousness, that heaven on earth realization, the reality that we have once known begins to disappear. and we begin to experience heaven on earth. We bridge it through this energy body vehicle, through the Shushumna, and I have a whole show in the past on this 4DT that speaks on that. But we bridge it through our energy vehicle, again, being in the world and not of it. So today is a mighty day for the 10-10-10 portal. And if we go ahead and add the 1, the 2, the 1, and the 9 of the 2019, then we imagine if it comes to 3, that fully syncs up with what we do here at this show, because this show is all about bridging the mind, the body, and the emotions. Those 3 aspects of our multidimensionality that exist through all time and space and through all dimensions. We come into aligning those aspects of self with that still point in the heart, with spirit. Spirit is in the heart. Spirit is all love. Spirit is your light body. Spirit is your soul. Spirit is your higher self, the voice of your higher self, the voice of the Holy Spirit, if you will. Spirit is that which is God, if you will. Now, what do we say here? We say that God is a verb. God is the experience of love. God is that feeling realization, that shared quality of that experience of love and being in love with love. I love that, being in love with love. And now I just wanted to speak as well on this idea of the 0 point, because we think about this 0 point, and I went ahead and I looked up, often if you look things up, just Google it and then you ask for the definition, right? We will get a sense of the collective consensus of what we have agreed upon to a certain point, of what is defined as that, as a word. And so what I'm going to do here is I pray to get this up. Here we go. So interesting. I just looked up the word point, okay? Because we have the sense of 0, of the 0. And what do we say here? We say know thyself. And what is contained in know thyself is now thyself. And what is contained in the now is the 0, that is outside of time and space, that is outside of past, present, and future. And yes, we exercise our present state awareness, and that is also the portal, the gateway, the wormhole that connects us to love and only love, to the 4D, to the NOWOSPHERE of living in that spontaneous, blessed space where we get to know who we are outside, again, of those shields, of the fear, of the pain, of all those things that perhaps we've been walking with for most of our lives. So point, I looked up the word point, and there's several definitions, and these ones I thought were particularly amazing. It's a particular moment in time or stage in a process. The critical or decisive moment, the verge or brink, doing or being something. The stage or level at which a change of state occurs. Now, I think this is so interesting because the 0 point, right? It is that turning point. It is that tipping point. It is that place where we turn a corner. We turn a corner, and if you have had these little enlightenments, these mini enlightenments, these awakenings within you, then you've touched it, you've tasted it. Through that portal of love, it has tasted, it has touched you, and it has informed you with its divinity. And we have these maybe in our ayahuasca ceremonies, maybe in our mushroom ceremonies, maybe just in our meditations. You really don't need to take anything outside of yourself and ingest it in order to have a divine occurrence and awakening. You can just simply be in your heart center, practicing kindness and love. And for the highest good, those qualities come about, those awarenesses. But that's it. How aware are we that they are taking place? There's no right or wrong. It's just an option that we can pay attention to and so learn by how to navigate and embody even greater love. Now, I think this is very interesting as well. So the 0 point, it is a point. And I like to think about God as that point as well, because here, again, we say God is a verb, right? It's not a man, it's not a woman, it's not a thing. It doesn't have genitals. It is simply a point. It is an energy, if you will, but it is so not an energy, because energy could never contain. It is what we think of, right? It's wordless. We can't really, it's indivisible. Even to put a word onto it would limit it. Yet we use the word God as a point to know what we mean, to know, especially if you have released any, there's some people that have been really brought up with some hardcore religion, beaten into them in some cases, and they don't want to hear the word God. And so once we have dismantled, though, all those polarized notions of what God might be, and then we're left with just the love and only love, that is the point of entry. I feel that that is the same space as the 0 point. Now, and it's interesting because the divine feminine is really rooting itself I feel, and activating through all of us, male and female. And in this exploration of this project I'm working on, Grid Mind Science, I am not a scientist. I don't have that kind of a brain, but I'm doing my best to grow new synapses, to train myself, to teach myself. And the interaction I have with some really amazing people on my Instagram feed that is at Grid Mind Science, we're having these conversations, and really they're helping me to bounce these ideas off of. And what I'm noticing is the male aspects, the men in those circles that are very scientific or have a deep rooting and a knowing in physics and quantum physics and all this stuff, which I'm just beginning to get my head around and connect these dots with the grid, because it's all connected. The science, I know we can connect these dots, and that's what my intention is with these teachings and with this movie is all about. But what I'm noticing is that the male aspect is really allowing this divine feminine is coming in and through them. And whereas perhaps, and this, I'm just speaking from a point, I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but generally on the masculine level, there's a sense in this 3D that it needs to make sense. I need to have a formula. I need to see it to believe it. It needs to be concrete in the 3D before I can really know that it is for real. We need to make an equation, a formula, all this stuff. And what I'm seeing happening is, especially with those men that are big into science, big into quantum physics and all this stuff, those that believe in God, or that have a connection to nature, to source, to love, to light, that have a divine connection to their spiritual practices or to reading sacred texts, there is an awakening of the divine feminine, and that aspect being the intuitive. The part of us that doesn't need to see it in order to believe it, in order to know it, but that just knows that this is beginning to happen in this continuum. And it is so exciting because it is allowing my masculine or any other female in a body that is exploring these quantum realms. And I speak for myself, and if it resonates with you, then maybe it's connector point for you too. But their divine feminine of allowing the intuitive processes of the stuff that say that I share or other like teachers share, that is fully intuitive and more on a spiritual level, a metaphysical level of connecting the dots, that's allowing their divine feminine dots of interconnection to connect with where I'm seeing 0 point field, to see where they are connecting their ideas about God, about love, about singularity, about interconnection through this universe. And we're all coming together in this beautiful conversation. And we are redefining these notions that is a part of our collective consciousness in how and who we are as people in bodies, as spirits in this universe, and how we can greater navigate and explore that divine plane together. And it brings me such joy, and it makes me so happy. And I'm so very grateful for all of you that follow Grid Mind Science and that are a part of this conversation with me. I'm so very grateful because, again, I'm a newbie, so to speak. But perhaps from past lives, these conversations will activate more and more and more. Oh, wow, there's a phone call. Isn't that interesting? It's a phone call. We're going to say thank you, but we'll see you later. I'm going to take a sip of water. And you know what's very interesting is the God phone didn't ring today. And I wonder why. We often have a phone call from the God phone. And I'm just going to see where God is at. God, are you there? Okay, we'll see. You know, God usually calls us on this show and offers us a little information, guides us to read some text, some sacred text. Often in the past, it has been A Course in Miracles. We would read a passage and break it down and weave it into our work together on this show. So we'll see if the God phone rings and where we might be guided with it. And what we are going to do to end our show today is we are going to work into a little guided meditation where we're going to come into our own ring of light and connect with our higher self and just voyeur and see which portals we may have connected ourselves to, which we have opened ourselves to, and then in essence invited in that energy, that information, those other beings or information, those people, those places, those things, those timelines, and where we feel ready to relinquish, to dissolve, to clear, to de-link and disconnect from those energies, we will do that work together. Okay, and it's just going to be a short, there's the God phone. It's going to be a short meditation. There's the God phone. Hey, God. I know it's been forever. Yes. Yes, we're back. 4D Trinity is back after a much needed sabbatical. God says hi, everyone. What are we going to do? Okay, we're going to read a little bit. Okay. Well, thank you. Namaste, God. I love you too. Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay. God is so cute. All right. So here we go. God is inviting us to read a little portion from this book, Alchemy, that is channeled Saint Germain by Elizabeth Clare Prophet. So we're going to just read. It's a short little piece, and then we'll get into our meditation. I realize that the uninitiated, or those who have never seen these so-called miracles for themselves, may easily question their authenticity. Alchemists of God, I do not know, pardon me, alchemists of God, I do not now ask you to believe alone. I ask you to begin in some measure to demonstrate these truths for yourself. So, you know what they say, believing, right? Those who have faith. Faith is beyond reason, is beyond the logic mind. Those who have faith and really consciously, purposefully exercise that faith, they are creating the correct conditions for the miraculous to happen. But now, in the NOWOSPHERE where miracles happen, we relinquish the need and the control for us to perform the miracles. We relinquish the need and control for us to have our name on and be like, I did that. The ego, there's no place for the truly miraculous. And so if you feel you are an alchemist in the laboratory of self, if you are healing yourself in your processes, right? Really going deeper into stepping out of the way, calling on that God source, that love, that light, the universe, whatever names you give those divine powers that be, to work with you and through you, and creating the correct conditions then to allow the miracle of love to channel through you, and letting go, the letting go of how we think things need to show up is the absolute power basis that gives rise to that divine, to the miraculous occurring in our lives. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and drop in for a little meditation. So take a moment, get comfortable, grab your crystal. You can recline or take a seat. And we're going to take a moment to drop in to the now. We're going to take 3 breaths to enter this space. 1 breath for each aspect of the multidimensional self that we are. We'll take a deep breath in for the body. A deep breath for the mind. And for the emotions. And feel yourself grounded. And everything that is offered in this meditation is just information. Take it or leave it. Add as you will in your own mind, in your own heart. And first and foremost, we can imagine a ring of light that surrounds us, containing us, rooting us, grounding us. In light sight, our ability to see through the veils of the grid matrix with our third eye, allowing us to see beyond our own judgments and polarities, our fears, the pain of the past, that we may be fully present in the now moment as we expand and explore parts of ourselves that are ready for healing and completion. And surrounded by that ring of light, we are safe. We are at one with God, with Source, with love, with all love and light. From this divine space, feel yourself consciously connecting from the tiny space in your heart with your higher self. You can imagine a line of light connecting from your heart center beyond your physical body to the energy being, that light body, higher self being that you are. And once you feel that connection is absolute and designate it. We'll say hello to the higher self and welcome, welcome, welcome it. And we thank in advance the higher self for always guiding us, for always acting through our intuition, and for being present in the now that is outside of time and space, always and ever nudging us as our inner soul guidance system to that which is truly service to us, to that which is truly of service to the greater good. In these meditations and with this energy work we may do and share together, there is never a force of will. We are not doing magic. We are simply clearing, creating the correct conditions within our own energy body vehicle that we may experience, explore, and express greater volumes of love and light through our experience. So for the highest good, let's call in our angels and our guides and thank them in advance for holding space, this divine container that we share together. We now enter rose quartz crystalline cave together to do this work. Imagine yourself seated in a rose quartz crystalline cave, quiet, safe, and peaceful, connected to higher self. In this vision, you are meditating peacefully. There is a candle lit in the space, and as you softly open your gaze, open your eyes, you notice to the left of you a notebook, a journal, and you see that it is actually a journal that you keep in these higher dimensions of self. Now, before you open the journal, go ahead and gently reach for it and hold it in your lap and bring your awareness within that heart space connected to higher self. And in your own way, I'm going to ask higher self to show us those portals that we are connected, those wormholes, those connecting points of grid in the matrix that we are connected to, people, places, and things. Which are the main three people, places, or things that for the highest good, for our highest good, our health, our well-being, emotionally, mentally, and physically, that we are ready to close those portals and let higher self receive this question, receive this quest. And now higher self guides you to open the notebook and feel as you open it up and turn through the pages, you see a page, and at the top of the page is written, portals ready to be closed for the highest good. Now look at your list, and maybe it's a long list, but notice the first three aspects. Who are they? What are they? And without polarity, just knowing that these are aspects that you might work with, maybe today, maybe now, maybe later. Bring your awareness to that first one. As they resonate, as you're ready to do this work, bring your awareness now to that first item on your list. Close your eyes again in this meditation, within the meditation, and imagine you are in the grid matrix. See your personal matrix of yourself, your energy body matrix, and any line or lines of energy extending from you, connecting you through the grid matrix and then to that person, place, or thing that you know you're ready to complete with, to close that portal. And see this connection from you to the grid and from the grid to that person. Now, once you see it, we're going to illumine first with light those interconnections, those portals, those wormholes, those gateways. We're going to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, blow that love and light through those lines of connection from you, from your personal matrix to the grid matrix to that person. And see that love and light just filling that connection. And once you feel those connections are stabilized with love and light, for the highest good, we're going to ask higher self to delink us now from that person, place, or thing. See on your end any lines or threads, connecting points, any grids extending from you now. dissolving from their roots, through all time, space, and dimensions, dissolving, delinking from you, delinking you from the grid, and delinking that person, place, or thing from you through the grid. See it dissolve. Your willingness to see it dissolve as you are guided is what gives it that power to be so. And as it is dissolved, let it go. See it dissolve and transmute into love and light. And see any points in yourself that were openings, that were portals created in your aura, in your energy vehicle, through those connections, clean, clear, and sealed. Seal them with love and light. See love and light. See white light. Seal your aura up. And it is done. Gently awaken your eyes. Look to the second aspect on your list. Reclose your eyes. See these lines, or this line of connection from you through the grid matrix to that person, place, or thing. Again, breathing light. Inhale. Blow that light through those lines of connection, stabilizing those grids with love and light first and foremost. And then again, asking higher self to do this work for you, delinking and dissolving for the highest good, all those connecting points from your personal grid matrix to the collective consciousness grid matrix and to that person, place, or thing, and begin to see them, allow them to dissolve. See them unhook, unroot from you through all time, space, dimensions for the highest good. And then see any roots, any holes, anything left there just fully dissolve, transmute into love and light, and see your aura clear, clean, whole. Fill it with white light. Any cracks, any fissures, any holes that were left from releasing those portals, those wormholes, those grids, filled with love and light. You are now disconnected. In the name of love, in the name of light, and for the highest good from this person, place, or thing. And so it is. Gently awaken your eyes in your meditation. Look to this third aspect in your journal. Reclose your eyes. Once again, scan your energy body. See where those lines of connection are sprouting out from you, connecting you to the grid matrix, to that person, place, or thing. Breathing love and light. Inhale. And exhale through those lines. Stabilizing with love and light. And now asking higher self again to do this work on our behalf, to delink us from those people, those places, those things, and see those lines, those grids, those portals dissolving in the name of love, in the name of light, and for the highest good, deconnecting you, disconnecting you from all of that memory, past, present, future, through all timelines, time, space, dimensions. See them dissolving. Fill your aura with white light. All of the roots gone, 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 gone. Let it go to the best of your ability. Fill your aura with love and light, with white light, and see your energy sealed. And it is done. In this meditation, in the cave, gently awaken your eyes. Look at the candle and know that that candle is a portal for love, a portal for light in this crystalline rose quartz cave. Thanking your higher self for the work that it shares. Come back into your body, in this room, in the space where you are. 3 breaths. Inhale for mind. Inhale for body. Inhale the emotions. Breathing light into the emotions. And breathing out. Stabilizing the energy body, the multidimensional aspects that you are, and feeling a renewed sense of now, this clear, grounded version of you, connected to source, to God, to love, to light, to your higher self, rooted and grounded in the sacred space of this ring of light. Without those triggers, without those memories, for the highest good, to the degree that serves your highest good to walk this path in this body, may they be gone. May those portals be closed, and so they are. And may you come back into a greater, expanding sense of who you are in your truth, without those timelines, without those projections, without those portals. Now take another breath and begin to slowly awaken the eyes. Bring your awareness back into the room, back into the body. Instagram is going to be closing down now for this live stream. Thank you everyone for all of your support, all of your love. Thank you for following my personal page, Tuesday May Thomas, and thank you for following Grid Mind Science on Instagram. Grid Mind Science is on Facebook. Again, go to the link at my personal page and follow, subscribe at my website for my monthly love letter, and we can keep in touch. I'm so grateful for all that you share and all the space that you share with me. Thank you everyone at YouTube, and I really appreciate all of your comments here. I'm going to go back, I'm going to read them, and we'll most likely have a juicy show that contains some of the insights and the information that you share. So thank you again, everyone at YouTube land, and thank you all of the new subscribers. As always, I pray and affirm that everything I share here truly serves your path of spiritual growth and sovereignty. Do keep in touch. Blessings, and thank you for all of your comments again. Namaste with so much love. Blessings. Still here.